Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new podcast. Today we have a new subject at matter. This is surveillance. And in my studio, I have two people, Mr. Pro Surveillance and Mr. Anti Surveillance.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, both. Both. I don't know what that is, but both. Well, I will start with you, Mr. Pro. Is it true that you are for surveillance? And in short, explain why.
Yes, I'm for surveillance. I think that surveillance in general is a good thing. It provides us with a feeling of being secure, and it has actually been proven that it statistically lowers crime and in sometimes even prevent accidents before they happen.
Well, Mr. Pro, that was an excellent answer. And now you, Mr. Anti-Surveillance. Is it true that you are against surveillance? And in short, explain why, please.
Yes, it is true that I am against surveillance. I think the area is more than 50 shades of grey. We have constitutions that are intended to protect our civil rights. With all the surveillance going around, we have lost a huge part of our privacy. You are monitored, recorded, and constantly traced. That is why I'm against it. It's not transparent how these tools are used.
Ooh, reference to a book, huh?
Yes.
Good.
I'm on the beat.
You're on the beat. That's sure you are. Well, now we have some questions from our listeners. The first one is from Kumar. Well, I'll put you through, Kumar. Here we go. Hello, everybody. On the podcast. I live in London where there are lots and lots of cameras. And I have a question for both of you. Do you think it is a good idea to have inner city filled with cameras on every corner and why?
I would like to answer that as pro surveillance.
Well, Mr. Pro, go on.
Yes, I think people in London has never felt more safe than they do now. The crime in the inner city has fallen a lot. And even if the cameras didn't work, it would still have a visual effect that would make a criminal think twice before doing a hate crime or stealing a car, for example. I got an example here. Since 2006, what we call street crime has been reduced by 32% and robberies by 27%. So Kumar, I can't see why you wouldn't think it's a good idea.
Well, Kumar, that was a great answer from Mr. Pro, don't you think? Well, over to you, Mr. Anti. What do you think of it?
Well, I think that cameras on some places are a valid option. However, when you are in a public place, you're still under your constitutional rights. So it's not a problem that there are cameras, it's a problem when you aren't properly informed that there are. Again, this relates to the transparency that I talked about earlier. Also, all the cameras we have established is cost inefficient. There are 36 people per camera in England, and it uses a lot of resources just to maintain these. Maybe these resources could be used more efficiently in another way without constant monitoring. And just as a side note, the number in crimes has actually shown an increasingly tendency in the past year.
Boom!
Prove it! I'm proving it right here, man!
Well, calm down, both of you. Well, on to the next listener. Well, now to our next listener. We have a question from a very famous man, Mr. Hasselhoff. And it's actually a question from Mr. Pro Surveillance. Well, go on. Hasselhoff, you're on. Hello, podcast. I'm an old former lifeguard from Miami Beach who moved to England to pursue my dream of producing music. Well, to pro surveillance aliens. What do you think of all the communications data that are being saved so that the government can use it for their disposal?
Well, to some extent, I think it's a good idea. For example, the government, they have those machines who can scan different words so that the bad guys can be dealt with before even doing a crime. But the idea that we don't know how thorough these machines are and how much they know about each individual person can freak anyone out. How many people can look into our data and what are they using the data for? I think they should be, or we should be notified whenever our data has been looked into. That way we could secure that anyone, knows what's going on.
Arr.
Arr.
I think that's a good answer. Well, thank you, Mr. Hasselhoff, for your excellent question. Well, on to the next listener. We have a question from Mr. Paddington, and it is to Mr. Anti-Surveillance. You're on. Hi, podcast. I lost my brother in the Afghanistan last year to terrorism. Do you think that the government can slack on the surveillance and still prevent terrorism in England?
Well, first of all, I'm very sorry for your loss. And then on to the question. First, I don't like the term slack. I think that we need a revised approach to surveillance. Instead of investing resources into the surveying part, we should equip our law authorities with better options. By making the police more visible on the streets, that would have a larger impact on crime and in the end terrorism. Instead of focusing on preventing a terrorist attack, I think that we should prevent a person from becoming a terrorist.
A good answer from Mr. Anti-Surveillance there. And also, I'm sorry for your loss too, Mr. Paddington. It's truly am. I'm truly am. Now we have a question from a Mr. Gringo. And it's to both of you. Hola, por acá. I'm from Mexico. Last time I visited England, big screen, scan your entire body so to show you a commercial that fits your sex and egg. What do you think? What are your thoughts of this matter? Well, we shall start with Mr. Anti-Surveillance.
Yeah, I'd like to answer that one. I don't believe that commercial and surveillance is the same thing.
I couldn't agree more. I think it's a weird question.
Okay, well that's in shorts. Well, Gringo, that's your answer. There you go. And on to the next listener. Wow, what a day today. All those famous people calling in. This next question is from none other than Mr. Steven Seagal. Oh my God, I'm the biggest fan. But enough of me. He has a question for Mr. Pro Surveillance. You're on, Mr. Seagal. Good day, podcast. I'm a retired policeman from Long Island, New York, but now living in England. What do you think about that you can get a warrant to tap someone's phone without they knowing it?
Well, Mr. Siegel, if you can get a warrant in court to tap someone's phone, this person must be involved in some kind of crime. So I don't mind it at all. Well, yeah, maybe it's against your private rights, but you must understand that even if you're just a normal criminal, it makes no sense to surveil you. If you're getting tapped, it must be for a damn good reason. We're talking about national security here. Yeah.
That's a good answer from Mr. Pro Surveillance to you, Mr. Siegel. I hope you can be satisfied with that. And then we go on to our next listener. Well, on to a new caller here. We have a caller from Mr. Moonshine. And it's to Anti-Surveillance. Well, you're on, Mr. Moonshine.
Hi there, podcast. I'm Daryl from Idaho, Texas. I just want to say I love your podcast very much. It's very good. I just brewed a special moonshine just for this show. Yeehaw! I got a question for you, anti-surveillance. I just ask, why don't we just surveillance all the colored people?
Mr. Moonshine, I fail to see how this question even revolves around the issue we are debating here. How would that even be possible when you think about it? When you are in a public space, you have hundreds of cameras recording you every move. How would you only survey the black people? Surveying a specific group won't change the fact that there are transparency issues. We as a private citizens have no idea how the information are gathered and how it is used.
Are you happy with that answer, Mr. Moonshine?
Well, I guess I couldn't expect anything else from a sand nigger, so...
Whoa. I think we just cut it there, boys. So, goodbye to you, Mr. Moonshine, and thank you for your question. We just have enough time for our last caller. And it's from, I don't know, Mr. Unknown something. actually couldn't understand what he said his name was, but I'll let him on. His question is for both, I believe, but I'm not sure. But you're on, Mr. Unknown. Thank you, thank you. The moon isn't yellow because I couldn't find the pin of faith that determined whether I was old enough to ride the pony that was the size of an ant with an elephant ears.
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Mr. Unknown, are you okay? Hello? Okay. Well, Mr. Unknown, good question. Good question with weird sentence of random stuff. I don't know. Well, that was enough today. Thank you, listeners, and thank you, callers, for all the questions, and thank you for both of my participants here in
welcome.
our studio.
You're welcome.
See you
Pleasure.
next time.
Later.